The closest to peanuts I can get. Closest to peanuts I can get.
that any better? So it looks like we have sound now. I want to welcome everybody to the first Primo New User Interface, where we're going to look under the hood and collectively grapple with the new interface of the Primo's or Ex Libris Primo product. The new user interface represents a distinct change in the development process, where access to server-side code is de-emphasized and API access and client-side programming is basically going to be the focus for the development process. I want to thank everybody for registering and participating. Currently, there are 307 of you, and we're using Slack as our primary method of communication and code sharing. Please note that there aren't only product working group folk who are going to be working in Slack, but there are also Ex Libris support staff and developers who are also hanging out. So if you have an issue, post where you're experiencing the problem, and if you use custom code, post the code into the Slack channel, either general or Primo Dev, so that we can see it. You may even want to use screen recording software such as TechSmith's Jing, which is freely available, to display the issue. If you're having a problem, someone else is probably as well. So if you find a solution to something, post it. The week, I just want to talk a little bit about how the week is going to be structured. The first day is basically going to focus on the installation of the dev environment and HTML and CSS editing. That's today. Tomorrow is going to be an introduction to JavaScript with a customization framework and an in-depth look at the Angular MVC model within the Primo Explore application. The third day is going to focus on service and request pages as well as actions. Particularly, we're interested in accessing different elements of the PNX as well as user info. The fourth day is going to focus on two-way data binding, how we can actually connect to other external data sources and bring them into the interface. And they're going to be kind of a lightning talk of interests, projects, and problems that people have had with the development framework. The presentation of the week's work will be on the final day, and we'll give everybody an introduction to the developer network. So it's a jam-packed week. Hopefully you have booked some time so that you can do some work. And hopefully by the end, you'll actually have a working Primo New UI. I want to thank some folks. I'm just going to put up the names so that people can actually see everybody who's actually contributed to this. There have been some folks from Ex Libris, ELUNA, which is the Ex Libris user group of North America. IGeLU. I want to thank my boss for giving me the entire week off, and some folks from NYU who have been an amazing support in helping put this together. So you know who you are, and thank you, because we wouldn't have such a great event if it weren't for you. I wanted to bring in some other people. There is Noam here and Yuval Kizelstein to talk a little bit about kind of the week and what it is that they're looking forward to. And then I'll give a little bit of some more introductory comments, and we'll go from there. Yuval?
Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you hear me well. First of all, I want to thank for everyone that participates in this conference. I must say that from us, from ExLibris point of view, it's a great pleasure to take part of this event. And I think one of the beautiful thing about that is that actually the concept of what we're going to discuss during this entire week of what we called a customization or the Primo development framework is actually started from the meeting we had back then in a year and a half ago in Jerusalem with the developers community. And from discussing it in a very high-level concept way and wrote some building blocks on a whiteboard, it actually became to a reality that we introduced as part of the Primo New UI. And I think this powerful tool that I hope you will get to know much better after this week, and the great possibility to use it with the Primo New UI, I think it's a great demonstration of how the collaboration and the cooperation between ExLibris and the customer community can actually get a lot of advantages for the entire Primo customer community. And again, this collaboration shows how we can work together and bring a beautiful thing on top of the Primo. And I would like to thank for the developer community, especially for Ellen and the other members of the team that work with us very closely during the development and the introducing of the customization of the developer framework. For us, again, we are very excited about this Hackathon conference because it will give us the opportunity to see what are the things that you can do and develop on top of Primo. And for us, it will be great benefits to see the outcome of this week and also the outcome of your development using the development framework to enrich Primo and provide more services and capabilities to your user. So again, for me, it's a great opportunity to take part of this hackathon. We are excited to see the outcome of that during this week, and of course during the entire year of launching the new UI, each one in his institution and the development that you are going to do on top of that. And I would like to wish all of us an enjoyable and fruitful Hackathon conference, and I'm sure it will be benefit for all of us. So thanks a lot for arranging it, and we look forward to work with you very closely on that.
So thanks, Yuval. I just wanted to give people kind of a scope of what we see as the goals of the hackathon. As I said, really what we're looking to do is to help and assist people to actually work with the framework and to get some experience working with this, because the experience is different. So I would look at this as a week of kind of extended support that we'll all be able to hear each other's pain points as well as successes. Feel free and post and contribute, because we're probably all writing the same little widget. So as much as we can, we'd like to encourage sharing of code as opposed to kind of everybody rolling their own thing. So we want to talk a little bit about the, we also at the end of the week want to have a sense of if there are features that are not available within the current framework. I'd be very curious to find out what those features are, because those are the types of things that either will or may not make it into the enhancement roadmap. And as a result of that, there may be things that customers can roll themselves as opposed to things that ExLibris has to do. So ideally, if you're all interested in the same function, you can request to have a private channel created, and I'm more than happy to facilitate that work so that you could work as a team. And if there are things that you're struggling with or scratching your head, hopefully you can put the topic in a hashtag of lightning, and those will be topics that we'll talk about on Thursday's lightning round. So Friday, I hope to show some participant work, and then we'll talk a little bit about contributing the code to GitHub and to NPM. I just want to give people a little bit of a history behind the customization framework. This has been something that's been a long time coming. It started in 2014, 2015, when both at the Primo Summit as well as the enhancement voting actually had said that the existing Primo UI was onerous to work with. At the same time, Ex Libris was transitioning from a company that was focused on locally hosted software to SaaS-based software. And so there was a conference of developers in Jerusalem that really focused on what it is that developers would need in order to customize the way that they need to. And I believe that this was the first kind of seeds of what the customization framework really is. So it was talked about more at length in Budapest at IGeLU's Developer Day. And then when the new UI was actually launched and the product working groups had testers, there was an assignment to kind of fork what was going on with the actual UI functionality and what was happening with the customization framework. Originally, what happened was that it was going to be kind of a wizard-based CSS picker. I believe after a number of meetings with Yuval and Miri, who's the product manager, or one of the product managers for Primo, particularly charged with the new UI, they understood a lot of the development needs. And then we were actually able to put together kind of a technical specification for what we felt the customization framework needed to do. That has since grown considerably since those meetings early in 2016. These were the topics that were actually gone over. You can see that there were a number of topics, many of them still not necessarily addressed per se with the customization framework, but some of them are beginning to get more attention, particularly deep search, which is the Primo to Primo adapter. Particularly, those are things that people used to have to roll their own with jar files that they would have to push to the server. Now that functionality is actually being incorporated into Primo, and the customization package is able to kind of work with setting parameters for that. So we look forward to seeing what comes there. Action items from that meeting, there was from both the Jerusalem meeting as well as subsequent meetings. Dev Day has been a tremendous success. The other thing that I think has been really useful has been that there's been more iterative public documentation. Ex Libris has actually committed to posting a 6-month roadmap publicly so we can actually see features as they're being developed. I'd be very curious to see for the attendees of the video if they feel that 6 months is enough time. And I think that that's something that we should talk openly about. Do you need more time to know that a feature is actually coming before you decide to make your own customization? Those types of questions were the types of questions that we began dealing with in the Primo UI group, and particularly the customization and developer group. But they've actually become more important the closer to live the new UI actually gets. So enough about the context. I'm actually going to try to, one thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the customization package and in terms of what it is. And then I'm hoping that Noam Amit or Alit would join us to talk a little bit and give us a demo on how to install the development environment, and then talk a little bit about customizing HTML and CSS. So what is a customization package? Basically, what it is a package of overrides from Primo templates that are hosted on the server. The entire environment is based on the idea that you can download it to your desktop. You can run it with Node.js and basically spawn a process that you can actually look at Primo with live results in the application. So as opposed to kind of focusing on server-side code, you'd be able to basically edit HTML, JavaScript, and CSS from your desktop, zip up the package, deploy the view, and those changes would actually be viewable within the production environment. The reason for this was basically because we needed to come to a compromise between a multi-tenant SaaS environment where a number of people were basically working in Primo installations on the same machines, and balancing that with the different types of needs that customers had said they needed to focus on in terms of their Primo view. So it's really meant to be an environment that people can code in that's easy. And then as we get through the week, you'll see that you can actually do some pretty advanced functionality. I'm going to actually turn the presentation over to Noam, and he can demonstrate the installation process as well as editing CSS and HTML.
Hi, everyone. I actually was just able to reconnect after I was disconnected at the beginning. So just a minute. Okay.
Okay, Noam, you should actually be presenting now.
Okay. Okay, so is everybody seeing my screen now, or is it upside down or something like that?
Oh, we see it well, no, that's fine.
Fine. Okay. So, first of all, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for having this event and letting us present the work we've done and you've done in the new Primo UI development environment and package. I'm going to start off by showing some statistics about the GitHub repository. And as you can see, we have, first of all, I want to thank the contributors you can see here. And I want to encourage you to keep helping us in improving by this system by opening issues and solving them and adding features as you come along with missing functionality and so on. As Alan said, I'm going to start with the installation process that I guess most of you have started playing with. Some succeeded, some had some trouble, but in general, the idea is to download the environment from this GitHub repository and download a package either from the back office or from another repository. And that's a good point for me to explain that basically the environment, the development environment, is a way for you to create packages. You don't have to use the development environment. You can use a static package. The package is like a product you compile. It has a very strict structure of CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. And the development environment helps you create it more easily using a proxy server and some of the stuff we're going to see in the upcoming days. So the basic requirements is to download the environment and the package, and then download and install Node.js in order to run your server on your local machine. Once you install Node.js, you should install third parties. You need to install npm and gulp using the global variable. And I think Alan mentioned in the Slack that if you do it on a Mac, then you have to sudo before you have to run it as sudo. And then you have to run npm install to install all other third parties that we need for the system to go up. The third step is to configure your proxy server, which is a very important step to understand because it actually demonstrates how the development environment works. Because you need to define in a file the actual Primo server you want to work against, whether it's your sandbox machine or your production machine. You need to define the front-end server there, because basically what the environment does, it starts a server on your local machine and lets your Primo server serve us as a proxy, meaning every search and my account and user request we make really gets the data from your server. And every CSS, out-of-the-box CSS or JavaScript file gets served from your Primo machine, except for files located in your custom view folder, okay, that we're gonna see in a minute. So that gives you the opportunity to develop and test your developments on your localhost machine without making any change on the actual production or sandbox server. You can get your testing cycle done, get authorization to upload the feature, and just then pack the feature into a zip file and upload it via the back office, and you will get the exact same result on the actual production server, because you tested it in the exact same way it's going to run on the production server. So once you have the environment downloaded, you start it by running the command gulp run --view, and here you put your view code. It's basically the folder in which you put your package in. We're going to see it in a minute. So that's the first recipe I'm sharing. And after you install and download the development environment and open it in whatever IDE you want to open it, in my case it's WebStorm, but anything goes here, even Notepad, you will get a structure similar to this directory tree. Okay, the most interesting folder is the Primo Explore folder. The gulp folder has scripts helping you to configure and run your environment. The node modules folder has all of the third parties downloaded by the npm install command. And in here, inside the Primo Explore custom directory, this is where all of your developments go, okay? In my case, I configured in the config.js file. You see here the proxy server to the Primo demo server, which has the November release on it. And I used the North folder with a very basic CSS, HTML, image, and JavaScript package, just empty at the beginning, to start really serving my application from the demo server. So if I go into the folder itself, and I'm gonna start the environment by running gulp run -- view north. Okay, the environment is in a minute. CD Primo. Oh, okay, so once the environment is up, I'm gonna go into my localhost machine, port 8003, and I'm gonna use the parameter for the VID north because I'm accessing whatever I call the folder, okay, whatever I call my folder here in the development environment, it doesn't matter. I still need to tell the server which view in the actual Primo machine I want to access, because that's the basic starting point for the user interface, to know which view I'm working in against. So now I have an environment. I can search and get results, and I can do whatever I can do in the actual Primo demo right here in my environment. That's the first basic step, and we succeeded in it, so that's a good thing. Next step is actually going over the possibilities. What can you configure using this environment? We're going to talk about CSS at the beginning. I have split it into two CSS main courses. The first recipe is about the color scheme. What we actually wanted to do is really simplify the initial configuration that probably most of customers need to do, and that's applying the library color scheme on your Primo New UI installation. And to do that, we created the following procedure. You need to open a file called colors.json in your development environment. You will see there a JSON with the following entries: a primary color, secondary color, a background color, links color, a warning color, and those three last colors are new in November, and they are all related to the availability line, whether it's available, unavailable, or check holdings. That's the line. That's the colors. And basically, once you configure these colors, these will get spread out all through the application, meaning it's not just the occurrences of this basic primary color, but every shade and every calculated color that comes from this color will get changed too. So really, this will get you very, very far, very, very fast. So once you define your colors in this JSON, you need to run this gulp command, app css -view, and again the view and folder code. So let's do that. First of all, let's open the colors.json file, and you can see I changed it a little bit. It's not the out of the box values you see here. I have no no talent at all, so it will look a little bit shocking. But if I run gulp app css -view north, what will happen, and that goes to what I talked about at the beginning. All we want to do in the scripts and the environment is create the basic outcome of a manual package you could have created by yourself. So what we do here is we create an app colors.css, which will get many, many color definitions based on the colors you define, but just the color definitions, not the entire CSS, just the color part of the CSS. And it will, once I restart the environment, will go directly into the custom one CSS file, which is the actual file that the package serves from once you upload it to the back office. So if I go back to the environment and refresh it, because the server is up. Okay, you can see the color scheme changed completely. You can see the primary color and the secondary color, the background color, links colors are different, availability colors are different, and it goes even for the shades of the background color and the backdrop color, all inherit from the same definitions you defined in your colors.json file. So just to make our life a little less shocking and the CSS back to its original OTB, I'm rolling back the changes. So that's the first recipe for CSS that I'm showing today. The second one is related to layout changes, because most of us want to play a little bit with the layout, and many of the customers wants, for example, and this is the example I'm going to show, to move the facets to the left because the out-of-the-box value is facets on the right. So instead of doing that as you did in the classic UI, using a layout editor or maybe other solutions, we can do it using CSS. How is that done? The first step is to select the parent container, the container that holds both the results and the facets. You need to copy the selector definition or create a definition or create a selector for the parent container. And then you can use Flexbox to reverse the elements order. What is Flexbox? Flexbox is a CSS3 feature we use extensively in the new UI. Flexbox actually lets you define the child elements of any HTML element on the page as to be aligned as a row or a column, and it lets you manipulate the order of the elements if you want to. So that's basically what we're going to do now with the facets. So if I inspect the system here, okay, and I'm going to look for the parent container, the container that holds both the results and the facets, which is this one, the MD content element. You see it has the class main and also the class padded container. I'm gonna use both, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit and take the definition right here from the file. I'm gonna paste it in here so you can see it. So I'm gonna choose the main element with the class padded container, and I'm gonna say to the system, use the row reverse flex direction. If I go back, if I save it, and I'm gonna see the change immediately. I did it. I did a very it's not a very selective, but I did a selective CSS rule here to affect only the results page. I don't want to affect all of the page layouts. Let's say the home page layout. I don't want to affect it and start to reverse the order in at the home page. So I'm using this selector to say I just want to reverse the order for the main element that has a padded container. And if I go back to the result list, I can see again the facets will now be on the left. As long as we're talking about Flexbox, you should notice that we're using it in pretty much in the system. So even if you wanna play a little bit with the order of things in the top navbar, that's how we call this element, you can inspect it, and you can see that the PRM top bar actually has a class, has an element, a div with a top navbar that defines a layout of a row, meaning every child element will be aligned in a row. So I know that the Flexbox is being used here, so I can really play with the order of elements in this row. So if I go back and copy another example I prepared, you can see here that if I'm defining the PRM main menu, okay, we saw it out here, the PRM main menu that is the child of the top navbar. I'm telling it to be ordered as the fourth element, so it's gonna mean that the whole main menu here just moved to the far right. Okay, it has no sense, but it's something I can do. Maybe if I want to make it more reasonable, I can change the actual links to display as a table style, and then I have the entire, just a minute, I have the entire links here in one small box. So that's really goes to the point of trying to avoid using JavaScript or complex solutions to something that might be doable with a CSS. Okay, so these two recipes actually sum up the CSS section of the presentation. So maybe we'll stop for questions. Oh wow, let's try doing that. Nope, that doesn't work. Oh. So I'm having trouble seeing if there are any questions, actually. So we're gonna do we're gonna save all the questions to the end, once I stop sharing maybe. So the next recipe here is the images recipe, which is really fairly easy. What you need to do is create your library images and drop them into the images library in the package. You just need to follow a naming convention and for the library logo, the fav icon, and any resource type image you want to override the default with. So going back to the environment, if I copy all of these images here to the actual images folder here, and go back to the environment, you can see I have a new library logo, the fav icon, and some default resource type images were replaced. This example is for the book resource type. So it's fairly easy. A one-time a process you need to do to define your images. Going on to the HTML recipe, which is again fairly easy. We had some trouble in the November release with the naming convention, but I think I got it under control now. The right name is home with the suffix of your language .html. And I committed a change to the development environment this morning to support it in the development environment. So once you do that, you define a home HTML for each of the languages you want to support. You should be able to see the result in the development environment. In our case, if I go to the home page, I'm going to see the home page in English because that's the selected language right now. But since I defined since I defined another HTML file, the home fr HTML file, which has some French text in it, once I change the language to French, I can see the tiles will change to the French HTML file I loaded. So really fairly easy, and for now there's just the home HTML, but that's a platform that we can use to add more and more static HTML files to the system. I'm gonna do a little bit promotion and a preview to some of the stuff that will be discussed later in this hackathon, and that's about sharing. There are two aspects of sharing as far as I can see it. You can share your source code. A source code is actually the code you developed in your development environment, meaning it's not the compiled code, but some source code that you use to create a package. You can do it through GitHub. And sharing a package. Sharing a package can be done via NPM, which is a repository for that is used. As you can see, we use it in the environment itself. And to NPM, you can package the actual product code, the compiled code that you want to upload to the back office. And that's going to be talked about at the rest of the hackathon. So the last step you want to do after you completed your customizations is to create an actual package from your development environments. To do that, you go back to the command line, and you can run the gulp create package command, which I'm going to do right now. If you run the gulp create package, you're going to be prompted with the the folders you want to create the package from, because you can work with multiple folders in your development environment. I'm going to choose the North directory, and the product is going to be dropped in the packages folder. You have the north.zip file. You can just upload it to the back office and deploy it, and you will see the actual changes take place as you tested them on your environment. This is actually the end of the HTML, CSS, and images part of the customization. And I'm gonna try to see if I can review questions or comments if there are any.
Noam, we have a
Yeah.
question. Somebody asked to actually show how to upload the file to the Primo server. They haven't been able to do it successfully.
Okay. That's okay. My system just got really stuck. Nothing works, but in a minute it will probably solve itself. Nope, I'm stuck here, but no, I'm actually unable to do anything on my computer right now. So basically, if you create, I hope I'm right, but I think that if you use the gulp create package script, you can't go wrong, because it selectively creates a zip file just from your custom one CSS file and a custom JS file, and the images inside your images folder. If you try to just zip your folder from the development environment, you might fail, because the back office won't accept any kind of file into it. The package has a very strict structure. So as long as you use the create package gulp script, you should be okay. Once you try to zip a file manually, you have to be very careful with what's inside that zip file. And it worked for me, but I can't show it right now for some reason. Maybe if I close something. Okay. Okay. So if I go to the Primo demo now, the back office, and go to the customization manager, to the North campus, the North view, and I'm going to choose a file from that's the packages directory I created. No, it's not the right one. I'm going to go to the computer, see. And here in the packages directory, I have the north.zip zip file. I'm going to upload it. And I'm going to deploy and go to the Primo demo. been known to take a while until it takes the deploy works, but hopefully if we're patient. Here it is. Okay, you see the different logo facets are now on the left, and the wheel, the main menu I created. So I think that as long as you use the create package script, you're good. If not, you'll have to do it really carefully. Okay, now I can see comments if there are any. Okay, must be.
So one of the things that I had chatted you, Noam, was to make sure that people know that the view folder has to be the same as the view ID on the server. That
The view folder, it doesn't actually has to be the same. The view folder can be whatever you choose, but you have to name it when you start the gulp run -- view. You have to name that folder that you created. The view you use as a parameter in the URL must be a real view. I could have created like a Noam folder, and everything would have worked the same as long as I said gulp run -- view Noam. So that's.
But the switch that you use in the server URL though has to be the view ID on the server.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, let's see. One comment basically said that Windows Zip doesn't work. However, they use 7-zip successfully.
Okay. I'm really all for using the create. I always use the create package script, so I'm gonna have to check why zipping with zip causes trouble. I'm not sure I can think of a reason right now, but maybe hidden files or something like that.
And Ulrich asks, are there any best practices and tools for CSS customization beyond the CSS recipe?
Well, I guess the one best practice will be basically, I assume most of you have much more experience than me in customizing and maintaining CSS customizations. So probably the community has much better ideas than me. I guess that if you always try to copy a selector from our out-of-the-box selectors, you really have a better chance of being able to maintain us not breaking the selectors too much, because that's the rules of specificity will sometimes give you a hard time. But if you use the exact same hierarchy we're using, just by copying it from let's take this one as an example. If you want to change this element, just make sure you copy this selector, and you will have no trouble in overriding our definition, because the custom CSS always comes after the OTB CSS. Thus, if it's the same strength of a selector, it will always win. But be very aware of the rules of specificity and make your selectors as specific or not as specific, or as wide or as specific as you want them to affect the system. That's what I can think of now, but
so another
I'll be happy to.
Another question that came in is if they run the Gulp app CSS, will it overwrite their changes that they've made in at the end of the custom CSS file?
I'm not sure. Basically, the way the colors changes probably should be the first thing you do, but I don't think it overrides it. But that's also a good reason why you should work with GitHub. And even if it overrides it, you have a fallback of your repository. If it does override it, we'll have to fix it to concatenate. I think it concatenates. It should be a very quick thing to check, and I can check and come back to you. But another thing regarding the color definitions, it's not really a one-time process, because you do it initially when you start to customize the system, but then every new version that you install on your system actually brings with it some new features. Saying in the November release you got the virtual browse. So if you ran in August the color customization from the colors JSON, you got a CSS that has all color definitions of the August release. But then the virtual browse comes in, and if it has a color definition, it will still inherit the out-of-the-box colors. It's not until you go back and rerun the app CSS script that now will also change the virtual browse, as an example, colors. So for every new feature that comes with its own colors, you should at least test it to see if it needs some color tweaking in addition to the changes you made initially.
Another question, Noam, is there a full list of icon resource names or resource types?
It's not a static list. It's whatever resource type you have in your system. You can add an icon to it. It's really dependent on your data, and it's not a static list. It's whatever resource type the record has. It looks for an icon with the same convention. If it's there, it will display it. If it's not there, then it will go to the out-of-the-box value, which always has a fallback to like an other icon that has no special meaning. I'm not so there's always a fallback, but it's dynamically based on the resource types you have in your data.
One follow-up question, then the naming convention then is icon dash and then the resource type code?
Yeah. It's where is it? It's icon underscore resource type code dot png.
Okay. We have a request for someone from someone to show us again how to get to the selectors.
Okay, so if I
Email.
I'm just using the inspect element of the Chrome browser. And I'm just navigating through the system, trying to understand which element I want to change. I showed an example of the MD content, this element here, because I wanted the parent element that has both the result list and the facets, okay? So the container is this one. If I go into the developer tools, I can see here, this is the definition I added in the custom one CSS file, but I can see that the system itself uses a bunch of selectors for the same element. The first one is the MD content dot MD Primo Export theme. This is a very general selector that will mean every MD content in the system basically will have these definitions. So it's not specific enough for my case. And the dot main, as I know it, and you will have to discover for yourself, is again too wide because it includes the main content in every page in the system. So I kind of combined between the main class and the padded container that I know it's not, I can't really say it's a best practice because there's nothing best in it, but that's the best available way to distinguish. Just, it's not the best, but it's one of the available ways to distinguish the main content tile, let's call it, just in the results page. I think others have found other ways probably better because I only invested like 5 minutes in finding the selector, but I guess there are better ways to do it, but that's the way I demoed in my presentation. I think another best practice will be to use the, we didn't talk about JavaScript and directive yet, but keep in mind that every element that has a PRM dash prefix is actually a custom element that we created. It's not a real HTML element. It's a directive we created, and it can be a powerful selector for your CSS because it means that if you define a rule for the PRM alert bar, then you're actually saying I always want the alert bar to look in a different way. So it's really cross-system. It's not using a class that you don't know if it will be available every place in the system, but the PRM alert bar is the name of this element. It's like saying I'm changing all divs by selecting just div in the CSS. So that's I'm changing all PRM alert bars because I'm using the actual directive name as a selector. So try to use them wisely and as much as possible to make cross-system changes.
So for example, if somebody wanted to change the color of the alert bar, then they could potentially use PRM alert bar and assign it a CSS class.
And assign it a CSS rule, yeah.
Okay. If there are any other questions, they can come in. One of the things after the presentation, we will be continuing the conversation in Slack, either in the Primo Dev channel or in the general channel. If you we'll be posting the files for the presentations for the recipes, as well as I will be posting a PowerPoint presentation that basically is a map of the CSS styling as it's expressed through the colors JSON file, so you can see where each of these colors is actually expressed on the main search page, as well as the request pages and the service pages. So look for those in the pinned item section of Slack. And if no one else has any other questions, then I'd like to thank you for participating.